You ever seen a Tesla catch fire in the middle of a peaceful suburban night? Yeah, that happened right in front of my house. Flames, alarms, and all. I was just standing there on my porch, coffee mug in hand, half awake, half amused, watching Karen's car light up the street like the 4th of July. And in the background, her voice was screeching, "You did this." You'd think this was the end of a long, crazy story. But honestly, it was just the universe finally cashing in on some overdue karma. Let me rewind, though. This wasn't some random act of God. For weeks, no months, my electricity bill was through the roof. And it wasn't like I was hosting raves or running a Bitcoin mine in the basement. I barely used the AC, and still, every month, the numbers on that bill crept higher until I finally hit a point where denial was just too expensive. You ever get that feeling when you know you're being screwed, but you can't prove it yet? That was me, suspicious, cranky, and out about $400. So I did what any retired engineer would do. I started digging. Energy audit, smart meter, you name it. And that's when I found the spike. Every night, right around 2 a.m., 3 hours of electricity pouring out of my house into God knows what. Or rather, into Karen's Tesla. But I didn't know that yet. You got to picture Maplewood Estates, manicured lawns, kids on bikes, retirees on porches. At least, it used to be that way before Karen Whitmore rolled in 3 years ago, self-declared queen of all things eco and self-righteous. She wasn't on the HOA board, but she didn't need to be. She just decided she was the law. Her tools of the trade, a ruler for lawn height, a mouthful of bylaws, and enough fake smiles to fill a dentist's waiting room. I used to ignore her. Early 50s, minding my own business, happiest in my garage with a coffee and some wires. I built my own solar battery bank, not for the planet, but because I'm cheap. Karen, of course, saw it as an open invitation for surveillance. First week she moved in, she showed up at my door with a clipboard. "Are those LEDs certified?" she asked, like my garage lights were a national security threat. I told her they work. That's all I care about. She left frowning, scribbling notes, promising to let the board know. And the notices started. Exterior lighting exceeds brightness limits. Wind chimes causing noise pollution. She once wrote me up for having non-recyclable plastics in my bin. Living next to her was like living next to the city's most enthusiastic parking warden, except in yoga pants. But back to the bill. When I realized something was wrong, I stayed up one night to watch. Black coffee, lights off, just me in the dark. At exactly 1:47 a.m., there it was, a white Tesla rolling up. Karen, in her robe and slippers, carrying a charger. She strolled straight into my yard. No shame, no fear, and plugged her car into my outlet, the one behind my fence. I sat there, stunned, watching her steal my power, scrolling on her phone while her car guzzled electricity like it was happy hour. Next morning, I called her out. Calm, direct, no drama. She looked at me with this fake innocence, said, "Oh, don't be dramatic. It's just a few kilowatts. The HOA encourages energy sharing." Energy sharing, right? That's my private outlet, my private bill. She told me I sounded selfish, that real change only happens when people share. It was like being robbed by someone who thinks it's charity. So I went to the HOA. Their response? "Please resolve it amicably." Yeah, amicably. That's HOA speak for deal with it yourself. Even when I brought it up at a meeting, Karen showed up with a binder of environmental quotes and insisted her Tesla was progress. The president, Bill, just wanted the headache to end. "Maybe you two can work this out," he said, which meant I was on my own. That night, sitting in my garage, staring at my workbench, I started hatching a plan. Not dangerous, just educational, a little circuit trick that would overload if someone drew too much power, like, say, a Tesla charging at 30 amps. Safe for humans. Nightmare for smug electric cars. Before I did anything, though, I wanted proof. I set up a hidden camera, and like clockwork, every night at 1:47, Karen crept over, plugged in, and helped herself. I had her video, timestamps, the works, but I wasn't ready to pull the trigger. Not yet. I wanted her to feel confident, entitled. I wanted the lesson to land. Here's where things took a turn. Turns out, I wasn't the only one getting Karen. Word started spreading through the neighborhood. Linda from 2 houses down caught me outside one evening. "You should be careful," she whispered. "People call her the Sustainability Squad. She's got a fan club." But she added, "We're tired of paying for her juice." Suddenly, it felt like the whole block was seething, waiting for someone to stand up. I started collecting stories. Karen shaming a single mom about recycling, refusing lawn service because the mower wasn't electric, sending notes about illegal patio chairs. Everyone had a Karen story. The moral math got complicated. I could call the police, and eventually I did, but the dispatcher was all procedure, no action. The HOA? Forget it. So I made my own spreadsheet. Energy spikes, camera footage, neighbor statements. Now, I'm not vindictive by nature, but I do believe in consequences. I wanted to expose her, not destroy her. So I came up with a plan: bring all the evidence to the next HOA meeting, let everyone see it, and if the board still stalled, escalate to the utility company. I wasn't above a little theater, either. I rigged my outlet with a harmless overload circuit, just enough to trip her car's protection system and leave her with a very expensive lesson. The night I was ready, I made sure a few neighbors were watching. The motion sensor pinged my phone at exactly 1:47. There was Karen, plugging in, looking smug as ever. 30 seconds in, the circuit tripped. At first, nothing. Then a spark. Then the Tesla's dashboard went berserk. Red warning, charging fault, sirens, the works. Karen shrieked, yanked the cable, and stumbled back like she'd been attacked by a ghost. I sat on my porch, sipping my coffee, watching the sparks and the panic. By morning, the story was everywhere. Neighbors were buzzing, Karen was furious, and the HOA was scrambling. She stormed over, accused me of sabotage. I just shrugged. My property, my outlet. You're not authorized. She screamed about lawsuits and safety codes, but the tide was turning. For once, the neighborhood was on my side. At the emergency HOA meeting, I laid out everything: video, bills, energy charts, even a still shot of her sneaking in. Karen tried to spin it as a sustainability initiative, but the video didn't lie. For the first time, she lost control of the room. The board closed her complaint against me, and a fine was slapped on her for trespassing and theft. It felt like justice, messy, public, and loud. But you know how it is. People like Karen don't just disappear. Next thing I knew, she was sending anonymous complaints, threatening letters, calling the county about illegal wiring. A safety inspector showed up, but everything was up to code. He rolled his eyes, handed me a form, and left. Karen was getting desperate, trying to reset the narrative. That's when I decided to dig deeper. Turns out, Karen had been running a fake community sustainability fund, collecting money from neighbors for imaginary projects, and funneling it all to her own account. That was the last straw. I filed for an audit, handed everything to the HOA, and the next emergency meeting was standing room only. When the dust settled, Karen was out, stripped of her privileges, fined, and exposed. The audit confirmed the theft, and she had to pay back every cent. Her reputation was toast. A week later, the for sale sign went up in her yard, and she moved out. The whole neighborhood felt lighter. People waved again. HOA meetings ended with laughter, and no one missed the daily dose of eco-guilt. Months went by. Life returned to normal. Linda became the new HOA president, and I got roped into consulting on a real solar project for the community center. No fake titles, no secret funds. On the night we switched on the new solar lamps, the whole path glowed warm and quiet, and someone joked, "Let's hope nobody fries their Tesla this time." And yet, because life loves a twist, I got a letter in the mail. No return address, just a folded note, Karen's handwriting. "You were right," she wrote. "Power can corrupt anyone, even those who think they're saving the world." Maybe I needed to be unplugged to learn that. I didn't know whether to laugh or sigh. I folded the letter and put it away, not out of forgiveness, but closure. The real lesson? Power isn't just electricity. It's boundaries, respect, the ability to say enough. You can't let people drain you. Not your wallet, not your peace of mind. Sometimes the best defense isn't revenge. It's clarity, calm, and the guts to stand your ground. And if you're lucky, maybe a good laugh at the end. So, What would you have done in my place? Would you have let it slide or wired up a little poetic justice of your own? I want to know, where's your line when it comes to defending your peace? Share your thoughts. Tell me your stories. And remember, respect the current, whether it's in your walls or in your life. Because karma is just another kind of electricity, and it always finds a way to complete the circuit.
Cảm ơn tất cả các bạn đã xem video.